The moment that you learn to pick yourself up once you've fallen is another day that you will get closer and closer to achieving that dream version of yourself. Because I bet you $1,000,000 he doesn't allow himself to fall and stay on the ground. You get back up until you can't anymore. Alex, I see that you found a new spot to record your videos. Yes, my friends, you are right. I have. Welcome to my studio. During this festive season, I think I'm going to be making a couple of videos here. Enjoy the ride, because we're going to cover some deep topics here. I think it's really about time that I get to explain to you how I live, what I believe in, and how I think the world should be. Please don't take my opinions without a pinch of salt. I'm not a perfect human, and nor do I believe anyone else is. There's only one man who is perfect, and he gave up his life for all of us, so that we could be imperfect. Today, I want to cover this simple topic of just starting. You know, at the beginning of this year, I didn't know how I wanted to present myself. I didn't know why I acted the way I did, and quite frankly, the ego that I had at the time wasn't resonating with the being inside. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. It was a very terrifying moment for me when I came to the conclusion that the way that I acted wasn't a reflection of who I wanted to be. We talk about doing things to become your future self. Think about how your future self would act, feel, be. Would you like your future self? And what would your future self think of you right now? The only way to get to become your future self is to start with the actions that he would take or she would take every single day. Now, if my future version of me was, let's say, a personal trainer, do you think that it would be valid for him to just sit on a couch or not be in shape? No, of course not. It's completely contradictory to what he embodies and to what he presents. You know, when you have a certain job description, let's call it job description, or title, it is assumed that you are at least going to take part in some action towards that, right? I'm a sound engineer, so surely I do some sort of sound stuff. Or I am into fitness, so maybe I'm a personal trainer. Who knows? Whatever that might be for you, the trick is to just start. So what do I mean by just starting? Well, I would say that your first step would look like this. You gotta find a passion. You gotta find something that makes your mind tick. What do you enjoy doing? Because if you're picking something, and this is normally career advice, I would say, or no, let's not call this advice, because I think giving advice is overrated. Let's call this my opinion on how you could better yourself. It's not advice, but it's my take on the matter. So back to it. The concept of having a passion in line with your career or industry of choice is vital, because in a day, sometimes you're motivated, sometimes you're driven, sometimes you are not. And so if your passions aren't in line with your goals or career, you can often find yourself in a rut. You don't know what to do, you don't know how to progress, and you don't want to do what needs to be done in order to achieve your goals. So if that is the matter for you, oftentimes you'll find that your success is even further away from reach. You just can't get it because you're not passionate about it. So your first step in just starting is to make sure that your passion is in line with your goal. Your second step should be learning from your mistakes. Being prepared to make mistakes is a very important thing, because you cannot expect yourself to just get there from 0 to 100, or you can't be expected to be a professional in your industry without any time in the ring. A boxer, for example, Mike Tyson. Do you think that he was able to straight away get into a ring with someone like Floyd Mayweather? Do you think he was able to fight his first card without first punching the bag, learning the footwork, doing everything that's involved just to get himself to the standard of performing under pressure in a situation like in a ring? I don't believe for a moment that he would have been able to do that if he hadn't sparred, if he hadn't trained, if his trainer or his coach hadn't showed him the correct footwork or taught him the mindset for when he needs to be in a fight. Learning from your mistakes is super important. And the reason for it is because you are essentially the collective of your choices. You don't want to be somebody that makes mistakes and keeps making the same mistakes because they haven't analyzed what's happened to them in order to grow. My third point is that, which is reflecting based on experience. Reflecting means that you take what's happened, let's say in the last week. You went to work every day and you went to gym twice, but the 3 other nights you decided not to train. Your work day had been exhausting, and next thing you know, you're lying on the couch because you just frankly don't have any energy. Well, Sunday evening comes along and you're preparing yourself for tomorrow, dreaded Monday, and you think to yourself, I really want to do a little bit better than I did last week. How can you do that? How could you expect yourself to do better if you haven't realized why you did what you did the way you did it? The definition of psychotic is when you do something multiple times, believing that your outcome will be different. So you do the same thing over and over again, but expect a different outcome. That's how people go crazy. So you assuming that by going to work tomorrow, suddenly you're going to have the energy after work to go to the gym, and you're going to become the gym rat and you're going to get jacked, is a massive pipe dream. It's a lie. You're telling yourself a lie. Why? I don't know. The footwork to get to that level is sitting down, analyzing what you did Monday through to Saturday or to Friday, however long your work week is, and saying, this is what happened that day, and that's why I didn't go. But I'm fine with that because I'm doing something today in order to make up for that. I guess it might be time for me to address the elephant in the room, and that's the strap around me. The reason that I came to the matter of why you should not be angry with yourself when you fail is because if you don't fail, how could you expect yourself to learn? Something that I experienced recently, today in fact, was failing. And not just today, but yesterday as well. I decided that I would try and learn how to longboard. I know, how childish. I've always had a board and I've never known how to ride it. And we found another one in the garage and my brother said to me, oh my word, who does this belong to? I was like, well, I guess it's mine now because he has one. So we took the boards out into the street and he showed me the very basics. How to put my feet where they needed to be, how to push yourself, and how to balance. The next day I took it out by myself and I practiced those exact same things. The same the next day, and then yesterday came along. George came over, we went on the boards and we went down a hill. It was the first time ever gaining some real speed on the board. And guess what happened? I sent myself flying. I landed up with a nasty little roasty, but I was happy about it. It was an experience. It was a learning experience. I understand now what happens when you get a speed wobble. I understand now how I could have better stanced myself on the board. And that wasn't the first and last fall. Today we went out for a ride again. And I went down that hill and believe it or not, I didn't come off. With only one day separating that accident and today. I'd already learned something. So, the next challenge occurred. A guy gave us a boost in his car, holding onto the back of his truck and pulling us along on the board. Off we go. And I was too scared to bail. But when I did eventually bail, my feet weren't right. And so I landed up having speed wobbles and aiming towards his car. And what happened? I saw my ass again. What a great way to learn. By falling down and fucking up my rear delt. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was livid. I was so angry at the fact that I had hurt myself in such a stupid manner. Because truthfully, it was stupid. How could I be so childish? If my goals are to get jacked and fit and whatever, and I'm out there riding a board behind a truck and getting hurt, how could I be so foolish? Well, great question. The fact is that I had chosen to learn a dangerous sport. And the cost of learning that dangerous sport is falling a few times. How can you expect yourself to, one, know how to fall without falling? And two, understand the fundamentals of riding a longboard without actually doing everything that's incorporated in riding a longboard. Taking a turn, standing on the board, weight distribution, speed. So many small things that add up into a fluid experience of riding. I can use this arm, it's not broken. I was very lucky. But I've learned. Probably that lesson was that I shouldn't hold on to the back of a car. Because I'm way too inexperienced at speeds. Either way, a lesson was learned. And the lesson that I learned outside of that was that if I decided to not pick my board up and take myself home, if I'd have given up and not managed to persevere through that tough experience, where would I be now? If the first video I ever made landed up with me in 11 views and not wanting to succeed, then I wouldn't be recording this. It's a simple matter of continuing what you started because you have faith in yourself. The moment that you learn to pick yourself up once you've fallen is another day that you will get closer and closer to achieving that dream version of yourself. Because I bet you $1 million he doesn't allow himself to fall and stay on the ground. You get back up until you can't anymore. I was able to get up today. I batted off the tears and I made it back to where I had to be. My last and final tip for today's video is to not pivot. Ultimately, you're not going to see results immediately. In whatever you do, maybe you're trying to find new work and you're not making money immediately. Well, maybe that's because you're not skilled enough and you need some more time under tension. You can't expect things to just fall into place like that. You have to put the work in. But to put the work in, you have to stick to that goal. You have to say to yourself, I'm going to make content. And I'm going to keep making content until making content works for me. And even when it doesn't work for me, I'm going to keep making it. And who knows where it's going to take me in the future. But that is my goal. So I'm not going to pivot from that goal. As long as I'm making content, I'm on my way. Could be anything. It could be goals towards swimming. It could be learning a new skill. 1,000,001 different things. Don't stop. Because every time you stop and start something new, means that you have to repeat the cycle again. Starting from zero and building yourself up, having a little piggledy coming down a little bit, going up, failing, learning, going down, coming up, failing, learning, coming up. You don't go up like this. It's not ever an exponential graph. It's like this. And probably not even as drastic as that. You gotta fail learn from your mistakes, and continue. Don't pivot. Keep doing what you're doing, do what works, learn the process. Become familiar with it, know it like the back of your hand. Like the back of your hand. I promise you, you'll succeed. And if all of those things align, if you are passionate about what you do, if you learn from your mistakes, if you stick to it, and if you don't pivot, you will be successful. Thank you for joining me in today's video, guys. I hope you have a great day. I will see you in the next one.